Matthew Evans, a wealthy man in his late 70s, Saturday alone in his sleek silver Mercedes, drumming his fingers against the steering wheel. The hum of the air conditioner did little to combat the oppressive Kentucky heat. For decades, they have lived a life of success, wealth, and control, yet here he was, stranded on a desolate country road with a flat tire. No amount of influence could change the reality of his predicament. He had attempted to call for roadside assistance multiple times, but the weak signal yielded no luck. Just as frustration started bubbling within him, movement in the distance caught his attention. A boy, no older than 14, strolled toward him with quiet confidence. His faded t-shirt and well-worn sneakers suggested humble means, yet there was something steady and determined in his demeanor. The boy reached the car, his gaze sweeping over the flat tire before he looked up and asked, "Got a flat?" Matthew sighed, nodding. "Yes, I do. My phone has no signal, and I'm stuck." The boy offered a small, knowing smile. "I can help with that." Without hesitation, he knelt beside the car. "My grandpa taught me how to change a tire last summer. You got a spare?" Matthew gestured toward the trunk, watching as the boy retrieved the tools and set to work with remarkable efficiency. As he observed the young man's skillful hands, a wave of humility washed over him. Here was a boy, a complete stranger, willing to help without question. After a few minutes, the task was complete. The boy wiped his hands on his jeans and stepped back. "All done." Matthew reached for his wallet, pulling out a few crisp bills. "Here, I appreciate your help. Take this." But the boy merely shook his head, raising his hand politely. "Thank you, sir, but I don't need anything. Just happy to help." Stunned, Matthew stood there, money still in hand, watching as the boy turned and walked away, his posture easy and unbothered. He had met thousands of people in his lifetime, business associates, investors, people who always expected something in return. Yet, this boy had asked for nothing. The encounter lingered in Matthew's thoughts for the rest of his drive home, stirring something deep within him. That evening, Matthew Saturday in his grand study, surrounded by books he seldom read, a glass of scotch in hand, his perfectly prepared dinner Saturday untouched. He couldn't shake the image of the boy walking away with nothing but a satisfied smile. For decades, his life had revolved around business deals, negotiations, and transactions where everything had a price. Yet, this boy had shown him a different kind of wealth that came from kindness and integrity. The next morning, Matthew found himself unable to ignore the gnawing feeling inside him. He needed to find the boy. He didn't know why, whether it was gratitude, curiosity, or something deeper, but he knew he couldn't let it go. Driving back to the rural stretch of road, he asked around at gas stations and small diners, describing the boy to anyone who would listen. Most shrugged, until an elderly woman at a cafe finally responded. "Sounds like you're talking about Elijah," she said. "That boy's always helping folks. Lives with his mama over in Harlan." Harlan, a small town nestled in the foothills of the Appalachians. An hour's drive? As Matthew drove, questions filled his mind. Who was Elijah? What kind of upbringing had shaped someone so selfless? When he arrived in Harlan, the town was quiet, with modest homes and small businesses lining the streets. After asking a few locals, he was directed to a humble house on the town's outskirts. Matthew hesitated outside the worn porch, gathering his thoughts before knocking. A woman in her early 40s answered, her eyes sharp yet kind. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Good morning," Matthew said. "I believe I met your son yesterday, Elijah. He helped me with a flat tire. I wanted to thank him properly." Her face softened into a warm smile. "That sounds like my Elijah. He's always helping someone." She stepped aside. "He's out back. You're welcome to wait." Matthew entered the modest home, taking in the simple yet warm surroundings. The furniture was old, but well kept. The walls bore family photos and hand-drawn pictures likely from a younger Elijah. The contrast to his own sterile mansion was stark. He followed Elijah's mother to the backyard, where the boy was repairing a sagging fence. As he looked up, recognition flickered across his face. "Hey, mister," Elijah greeted. "What are you doing here?" Matthew smiled. "I couldn't stop thinking about how you helped me. I wanted to thank you." Elijah shrugged. It wasn't a big deal. But to Matthew, it was, and he was determined to show it. As Matthew spent time with Elijah and his mother, he learned more about their struggles. They lived simply, making do with what they had, yet there was a warmth in their home, an unspoken bond of resilience and gratitude. Moved by their kindness, Matthew began planning. He made calls, arranging for a team to renovate their home. When trucks and workers arrived a week later, Elijah and his mother stood in shock. "You didn't have to do this," Elijah's mother said, her voice trembling. Matthew shook his head. "You've done more than manage, you've thrived. Let me get back." During the renovations, Elijah watched the workers with fascination. Seeing his curiosity, one of the crew members invited him to help. Soon, he was eagerly asking questions about construction. Matthew saw something in Elijah's potential, ambition. He wanted to nurture it. As the final touches were made, neighbors gathered to admire the transformation. The once worn house now stood strong and welcoming. Elijah's laughter rang through the yard as it played on a brand-new swing set. Elijah's mother turned to Matthew. "This isn't just a house anymore, it's a home. I don't know how we can ever thank you." Matthew smiled. "You already have. You reminded me of what truly matters." Sitting on the porch as the sun set, Elijah turned to Matthew. "Mr. Matthew, I want to do what you did for us someday, help people." Matthew placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "You already have, Elijah. Never lose that." In the weeks that followed, Elijah's passion for construction grew. Matthew arranged for him to shadow the workers, feeding his hunger for knowledge. And with each visit, Matthew felt less like a visitor and more like family. For the first time in years, he felt fulfilled not by wealth, but by purpose. Because in the end, life wasn't about what you had. It was about what you gave. Thank you for watching until the very end. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more inspiring stories. Have a wonderful day.